All right, hey everyone, welcome to the Jazz Piano School podcast, episode number 58. We are just chugging along. My name is Brenden Lowe. Thank you all so much for being here. In today's episode, I'm going to be extending what I taught in podcast 57, which is left-hand voicing approach. And you're going to get this idea very, very quickly because it really doesn't take much. It just takes practicing of the voicings and a couple other components which I'll go over. So again, if you're a first-time listener, we're affiliated with the website jazzpianoschool.com, which I created and founded to help people receive the best possible jazz piano education and really kind of explore, the ability to play jazz piano. And I created a step-by-step course. It's really a cumulative course which I wanted to create for people because I found that in my career I was kind of jumping from resource to resource. I really didn't feel like I had a very strong path, nor did I feel confident that I was ever going to be able to get to a spot where I felt good about my playing, right? And that's exactly why I created jazzpianoschool.com. So again, in this episode, I'm going to be demonstrating the left-hand voicings and how they can change your playing drastically. As you start to get better as a player, intermediate to advanced players, you're really going to have a breakthrough at some point with your left hand. And a lot of younger players, not age-wise, but just experience-wise, are really focusing on the right hand. How do I get improv lines going with my right hand? And that does take, obviously work, and you get to a certain point, but after that point, you really need to focus on both hands and a lot more on your left hand so that you can create a sound and a supportive palette that's going to match what you're doing. Just to give you an example, just simple melodic lines in your right hand can sound fantastic with different left hand voicings, and paying attention and focusing on how your left hand is playing the voicing, what notes it's using. And again, these are the differences between, why does Brad Mehldau play something so simple, yet it just sounds brilliant, right? It's mesmerizing. The same thing, Keith Jarrett, all these other phenomenal pianists, they'll play something and the world or scenery that comes up, is just magic. You're transported to this whole other different atmosphere, environment because of these, it's because of a lot of things, but obviously their left-hand voicings that they're using, they're not playing anything very complicated in their right hand at different moments, yet it just sounds fantastic. And a lot of that doesn't have to do with the right hand, actually. It has to do with their left hand. And so that's what I'm saying. As you grow as a player, your focus needs to start to shift back to your left hand rather than your right hand, because that's where the underlying Wizard of Oz magic is going to happen, right behind the curtain, okay? So this is actually going to be a quick lesson. I know I probably say that a lot, but I'm going to give you 3 examples in a blues, all right? The first example is just going to be a 3-note voicing. I'm going to use some 3-note voicings, okay? And if you guys are interested in there's no practice materials for this because it's a kind of a short episode, but you can go to the episode previously, which is podcast 57. Get all the left-hand voicings. We didn't put them all in there because there's thousands. If you're a part of the JPS community, you have access to all the voicings there. Your left-hand voicings, all of them are there. So just every possible voicing you could possibly want. But I gave you a couple. I didn't want to overwhelm you. So if you practice those, you can start to implement those into your playing after this episode in different ways. So here we go. I'm going to use a 3-note voicing: E flat, G flat, and A. This is for a F7 chord. Okay, so I'm using the shells and I'm adding 1 extension, right? And what I'm going to do is move this extension around just in the F7 chord, really. I'm going to use some standard just shells for my other chords, but I really want you to pay attention to this F7 and how by the difference that when I move the shell around, I'm going to give 2 different examples, how it really changes the sound and effect that it has on you. Because the way I hear an extension is going to be different than the way you hear an extension or the way you feel when you hear an extension, right? People tend to gravitate towards different sounds, different colors, and so it may bring up different things for you than it does for me. So here we go. I'm going to put my my track on here. This is going to be at 115. This is pretty mellow swinging blues here. Here we go. volume down here. All right, so already with that one chorus, I took one chorus, it's completely different than if you're just playing rootless voicings, right? That sounds just like a typical standard blues. Just by playing this 3-note voicing, I'm getting a completely different sound. Now, one thing I forgot to mention too, when you change the sound in your left hand, it's going to change things in you, which is a very fun concept because it actually helps you break out of the licks that you're used to, the transcriptions, or not transcriptions, sorry, the just patterns or habits that you're used to playing of certain improv lines. Just by using a different voicing, your right hand's going to feel that it can play differently to match that sound, which is really fun. Okay, so that was the first demonstration. I'm going to take this flat 9, I'm going to make it a sharp 9 now. Okay. Now again, is this the best way to voice it? I don't know, it's up to you. Some might say, oh no, that sounds like crap. Some might like it. I actually like this sound. Okay? So there's no right or wrong reason here for the voicings. All I'd recommend is that you simply have your shells in your left-hand voicing so that you're at least getting the essence of the harmonic, you know, the harmonies in that chord. Okay, so here we go. Here's from the top. I'm adding my sharp 9 now. So that's the sharp 9 sound. And again, one thing I want you to realize is I'm experimenting right now during this demo as much as, you know, I can tell you. You know, I'm not the experiment process is coming out in me. So what you're listening to is true experimentation while I'm demoing this for you. I just want you guys to realize I'm not kind of I'm not playing things that I already know or playing pre-written things, I guess. I just want you to realize, like, these are the experimental processes that you should take when you're implementing some voicings that you've practiced, right? So if you've practiced this voicing, you know, let's say through the keys, and you want to start to implement this voicing, simply play it in a blues or a tune with not too many changes and play around with your right improv depending upon what you can do. Obviously include the extension in your improv as well and see what sounds you get. And you're going to start to really break through some plateaus, break out of the box, and really find different places that you've never explored before. I guarantee it. Okay? So let's do, let me see. And I matched the tone on the B flat 7. I had the sharp 9 there. This is more of a traditional voicing, right? Having that sharp 9 on top. This not so much, right? But I love it. I love this voicing here. Not gonna lie to you guys. So let's do one more thing. We're gonna do a couple more things, but I'm going to let's see. Let's do the sharp 11 on top. Okay, so we have 7, 3, sharp 11. I also like it in the middle. Let's use this one too. So I'm gonna do this one. 3, sharp 11, 7. That's a nice sound there. And then I'll move to the 7, 3, sharp 11 for the B flat 7 as well. Okay, here we go. So there's your sharp 11. Love that sound too. And again, that's sharp 11 in blues. Sometimes I'll hear people use that, you know, But again, it's about kind of finding the sounds that you like, and you're with your left-hand voicing, you're able to completely change the environment of any sort of tune, right? I'm going to do a couple more demonstrations. I'm actually going to reharm the F7 chord. So instead of making it a dominant in a blues, I'm going to make it a sus chord, okay? But with my sus chord, a lot of people will use this. This is a very common voicing. What I'm playing here is 1, 4, 7, right? Also, the way I kind of educate people on voicing sus chords quickly is to play the minor rootless voicing that leads to that dominant chord in a 2-5, right? So in a 2-5, if we had a 2-5-1, our dominant chord is the F7. If I played the 2 minor voicing of my F7, I'm going to get a sus chord with the F in the bass. Or down here as well. So my 2 structures of my rootless voicings. So I'm going to change one note, and that note is going to be the 5th. So I'm going to move that to an 11, okay? And I'm actually going to try this voicing first, okay? And then again, on my B flat 7 chord, I'm going to be playing the 2 minor of that, okay? So I'm going to move that, my 5 to 11. So I have 3, 11, 7, 9, and then back to my F sus with the 11 on top. Okay, so just listen to the mood and the atmosphere this creates now. Okay, it's completely different from the last 3 I just showed you. Here we go. Okay, so again, very airy, spacey, right? These are, you think of kind of words to put with these sounds so you can kind of get more of a feeling, or you can kind of build a relationship with them. So this kind of voicing here, right, really open, spacey, kind of fun. You know, it's definitely more of a modern sound. There's not as much clash, right? It's very soothing. Kind of a lullaby-ish a little bit. Right? You can create a lot of nice atmospheres out of this just by using that voicing, right? So I'm just focused on changing the sound, and it's kind of funny because your right hand will follow. You know, if I were to play this sus voicing, but I'd be playing, you know, let's say I would improv with more of my sharp 9, sharp 11 sound. You know, that can be that's doable too, you know, but you just, you know, pay attention to the different sounds it makes. I'm not going to say don't do that. When you match the left-hand sound, it's a very nice thing. If you want to contrast the left-hand atmosphere, you can do that as well. So that is the sus sound. Now, again, by this point, I'm sure you're getting it, right? So I'm going to do one more, okay? And let me see. It was a thicker voicing, a 5-note voicing, right? Because I think some of you guys had those 5-note voicings in the practice materials. Excuse me, I'm tripping over my words here. The practice, I just did it. In the practice materials of the last episode, there's different types of voicings, right? I gave you guys some 3-note voicings. Excuse me, I gave you some 4-note voicings. I gave you some 5-note voicings. So, obviously, the 3 notes are going to be simpler, less of a sound, kind of thinner, but they're very effective. And the 5-note voicings are going to be more of a thicker sound, right? And kind of really a little slightly more overbearing, right? Especially when you have so many extensions. So what I'm going to do here is play this 7 flat 9 3 sharp 11 natural 13. Okay, I'm using all 5 fingers in my hand. And what I'm going to go to next is 3 sharp 11 7 1 sharp 9. for the B flat chord. And then back to my original. Now, are these easy voicings to play? No. I mean, even for me, having my 5-4 combination here, if you're watching the video, guys, this is my pinky on E flat and my fourth finger on G flat, A, B, D. And then switching to this, right? But they're great voicings. It just takes practice. It takes a little work, okay? Here we go. This will be the last demonstration. Now it sounds funny here just to go to your regular rootless voicings. Right? So I was just kind of having a little fun there, but to emphasize the sound, you can this really just, you know, thick, in your face, dissonant sound, right? With that voicing, with both of those voicings, really. And think about practicing these so that you can kind of pull these out and mix and match sounds. It really gives you just an enormous, immense color palette, right? That can completely change your view of playing a blues, because a lot of students will be like, oh, all my blueses sound the same, or all my tunes kind of sound the same. Well, you know, try out different colors, right? Mix and match different colors. Work on your left-hand voicings and the sounds that you're getting from the voicings and how they affect your right hand, right? And obviously you could see as I went from here to like just a regular rootless voicing, it sounds so, it's like you got this huge dissonance going to just a very peaceful, you know, tranquil rootless voicing. So it's completely up to you. You can mix and match all these colors however you want. In all sorts, it doesn't have to be a blues too, right? Any tune, any voicing you want to use in your left hand, go through the tune, pick out certain voicings that you think sound great and that speak to you personally, and use those voicings. And I guarantee you're going to start to break through plateaus. You're going to start to really feel inspired, motivated, because you're going to be connecting with certain environments more on a personal level, right? For you personally, what emotions does it bring up, right? What feelings? Because it's always different for everybody. That's why jazz piano is great, because it really allows us to express ourselves personally as who we are. It allows us to speak our own voice, all right? So I hope that was helpful, guys. Again, there's no practice materials for this. I would just say implement your left-hand voicings into tunes now, or try just the simple blues and see what you can come up with. If you don't have the voicings, go to podcast 57. You can go to jazzpianoschool.com/podcast 57 to get all the voicings that I gave out last week. All right? Hope that was enjoyable for you guys, and happy practicing.